With an injury update on a WWE star and more, this is Wrestling Rambles. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we move on, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Rambles with notifications on, and don't forget to like the video. Taking to X, Grayson Waller posted a picture and wrote, "Scotland is great, it's dark before 5 p.m, freezing cold, and all the women look and talk like Shrek." Asked to name which child of Shane or Stephanie McMahon's was the most likely to get into WWE, son of Shane McMahon, Declan told Developmentally Speaking, "Oh, probably me. I mean, the story's already written, right? I mean, the rightful heir, the good looking, the one who looks like Vince, right? So I think just in the sense that you could play off the WrestleMania 20 intro, right? Like I posted on Twitter, right? You could play that off and just show that like the new generation of McMahon has arrived. I think in that sense, I would. We have such a great family, and we're also supportive of each other. So I think really any of us could potentially want to do it. You know, I know Aurora, Paul's oldest daughter, Triple H's oldest daughter, she's always talked about wanting to do it, but in having my dad and my grandpa's ego, I think I'd be the best." With Vince McMahon and The Undertaker in attendance in Saudi Arabia for the boxing match between Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful noted that Vince McMahon and Undertaker returned home after being in Saudi Arabia for Fury versus Ngannou Saturday. "We had inquiries asking if they were staying for Crown Jewel. If they do attend, they'll be making a second trip." As Jim Cornette received an offer to attend AEW Dynamite in Louisville, Kentucky from Jeff Jarrett, Cornette responded on X, writing, "I appreciate the invitation from Jeff Jarrett to attend the AEW TV taping in Louisville tomorrow. I tried hard to make it work, but I couldn't find another person in town going, so we could split the 2-for-1 ticket offer. But maybe they can find another ratings ploy in time." Philadelphia 76ers star Joel Embiid made headlines for showing off his DX crotch chops after scoring in a game as Triple H sent him an invite, writing on X, "Hey Joel, I know a place where you can do that all day and everyone will love it. WrestleMania 40 is right there in Philly." Speaking about Impact Wrestling returning to its old name of TNA, Rob Van Dam said on his One of a Kind podcast, "I don't know what went into their decision to do it. I don't have that information. Without that insight, it could be a good or bad business decision. They could have moved intellectual properties. They could have moved from one LLC to another for who knows what reason. Maybe they have new investors. I have no idea. But just based on that question, going back to TNA Wrestling from Impact Wrestling, this is just my opinion. I'm not trying to talk on anybody. I don't see it as making that big of a difference. To me, it doesn't sound like earth-shattering news. When people call Impact Wrestling TNA in conversation, it's almost interchangeable. On that basis alone, I don't think that just by changing the name to TNA Wrestling on that alone is going to add a lot of value or any value, in my opinion, being an outsider, to the company on its own. I don't see it adding value to it. If it's along with other plans, which I'm sure it probably is, then they probably have some potentially good ideas and more power to them. On that same topic, former WCW president Eric Bischoff said this about the name change of Impact Wrestling and going back to TNA, noting on his Strictly Business podcast, "I just don't think that TNA brand had enough value ever, so that bringing it back is going to have any kind of, no pun intended, impact. Unless the product changes and there's significant change in the presentation, it's just changing the name of the show, and I don't think that's going to matter one bit. You can say it means total nonstop action. It means tits and ass. It was a Vince Russo idea." When it comes to advertising revenue from Friday Night Smackdown, Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics wrote, "Want to run an ad during Smackdown? It'll cost you about $51,077 according to Ad Age, up 8% from about $47,119 last year. Smackdown is second only to ABC's Shark Tank among Friday night broadcast shows, despite routinely beating Shark Tank in the 18 to 49 demographic." With the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile making their main roster debut on Monday Night Raw, Ringside News said this about it. Although it was first reported that this week's episode would be the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile's main roster call-up, there was some question about that. Now we can clear up any misconceptions. Ringside News has confirmed with a tenured member of the WWE creative team that the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile have been called up to the main roster. This week's episode of Raw marked their first match after leaving NXT. It is unknown whether the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile have inked new main roster deals yet. Sometimes talent will be on the main roster for a bit of time until they sign new deals. This is the reason why Aleister Black was able to make his way to AEW so soon to become Malachi Black, because WWE didn't change the non-compete clause on his contract from his NXT deal. Asked if he felt bad regarding his promo on CM Punk from 2021, Eddie Kingston told Adrian Hernandez, "No, I'm doing my job. That's how I felt. I didn't know what anyone else in the locker room felt. I didn't care. It was how I felt. I didn't want him there. Me and Punk don't like each other. That's fine. You're not going to like everyone you work with. Do I wish he was still in AEW and I wish it worked out differently? Yeah, because he helped the company. Other than that, I don't give a damn what he does. Me and him never got along anyway. We don't have to be best friends to fight each other. It makes it better when we're not best friends. I don't wish him bad, but I don't wish him good either, because I don't give a damn. That's it." Revealing that WWE had the chance to sign the cousin of Roman Reigns, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful said that WWE has had the opportunity to sign Lance Anoa'i a number of times. I'm not sure necessarily if there's a ton of interest there. I'm not sure, but I can say that WWE has had the opportunity to sign him a bunch of times. He had a tryout there. He worked for Noah throughout this year. He worked for WWE 3 times over the last 5 years. I know he worked SmackDown with Rhett Titus. He worked NXT against Authors of Pain. Then he worked Shane McMahon, and Roman Reigns was involved in that segment as well. He's not a stranger to WWE. He's been on their radar for a decade. Sending a warning to CM Punk over the idea of him making his way to Impact Wrestling, Booker T noted on his Hall of Fame podcast. His wrestling is going to be more spotlighted on, just because it's smaller crowds. Everything is going to be seen. You're not going to be able to hide anything in an arena like that. And one thing about getting older is you're going to lose a step. That's just the way it is. I think it would be so much more noticeable as well. Let's just say like this. You would be looking at CM Punk's work so much more than anything else outside of what he's doing, anything outside of anything that he would be doing at TNA. During an interview with Cultaholic Wrestling, Impact President Scott D'Amore said this about Alex Shelley's injury. Yeah, I mean, look, he's going to need a little bit of rest and a little bit of time, but he's going to be more than healthy and ready before he needs to be back in an Impact Wrestling ring, so it's going to be a good chance for him to rest and recharge. He added that, to your point, I think that like this company really does, like this group does, the talent and the crew, they rallied around each other before I even had a chance to turn my mind towards it. Talent was coming up and offering suggestions, and one of them was Frankie Kazarian stepping up and saying, look, I'll step in. I'll do double duty when needed. I'll still go out there. I want to still go out there and wrestle Leon Slater because I'm stoked to go out there and do that, but then I'll circle back in the main event. I got history with the Machine Guns, and I'll be happy to take Shelley's place and team with Chris Sabin and be in the main event. So it's just, to your point, everybody was turning their mind to it while I was still worried about other things. I already had other people coming up and, hey, we can do this. Well, if you need me to do this, and And a guy like Frankie, who's been around for 20 plus years and doesn't have to, was like, hey, I want to step up. I want to fill that void. I want to be part of that solution. So I think that's truly amazing. So I think, to your point, you get to see a bit of it on this tour. You got to be a part of it. The hanging out in the locker room, making the bus rides, it's a lot of fun, and it was great to see. So you've seen it. It's a very welcoming locker room. Giving an update on NXT star Nikkita Lyons, who has been out of action with an MCL injury, Ringside News wrote that Nikkita Lyons announced in September that her comeback is on the way, and she did so with a twerking video. She has also commented on her injury status, and she hopes to be back in the ring soon. It's been almost the entire year, and WWE fans haven't been blessed with Nikkita Lyons' presence on NXT yet. This has led some to theorize that she may just receive a main roster call-up when it's time for her to make that comeback. Ringside News reached out to ask about Nikkita Lyons, and we were informed by a tenured member of the creative team that she is currently injured. That's all that's known about her. At this time, there are no discussions for her to make a jump to Raw or Smackdown because she is unable to compete. And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.